Alrighty, greetings there, all of my Chun Li warriors. This is Sage Armageddon coming back to you again with another Sage's Dojo session. Today, what I wanted to go over is something very interesting regarding Chun Li and just playing when you're trying to approach the neutral. More specifically, if you're trying to approach things such as, footsies and whiff punishing, things of that nature. Right? Now, normally the go-to moves for trying to poke your opponent, you're trying to poke at them in order to either deny them space if you guys are trying to see if you can catch one another slipping and you get a hit on them, and then next thing you know, you're taking them to the corner. Or if you're just trying to play keep out, if they're trying to get in and you're just trying to keep them out, right? Something that's interesting is that normally around Chun's max range, the moves that are usually used to try to poke at the opponent are typically the 4-6 medium punch, the 2 medium kick, and to some extent, sometimes people might use her 5 heavy punch, right? This move here. Now, something that I was looking into a little bit more is that while these moves are cool, and, they go pretty darn far for the most part. A lot of the times, these are the moves that are typically used when in this range to try to catch a whiff from the opponent. But something I was looking into a little bit more is I was actually looking into Chun-Li's 2 medium punch, this move right here. Now, this move's range is not anywhere near as good as this move here. See, this goes significantly further. Same thing with this. But something that I was looking into a little bit more is using this to catch whiffs and to whiff punish in neutral, right? And the reason for why is actually quite manyfold. Now, there are some things about using this move and this move here. Like I said, these definitely go further. You're more likely going to be able to catch your opponent's hurt box after they whiff, right? As we discussed in one of the previous sessions, if you have Ken throw out an attack like this or like this, their arm will recede, but their actual recovery time, their body still has a few additional frames in which it is unable to do anything. So even if you can't catch their limb, you typically want to try to hit them where the hurt box is most pronounced, right? So it's cool if you could catch their limb, but that's hard to do, especially with moves that are fast like this, because his limb only stays out there for like a split second, but his entire body is still going to be exposed for like an additional 4 to 5 frames after the arm retreats, right? So move like this or this is more likely going to be able to attack the more pronounced hurt box near where Ken's body is, right? Since they have more range. But there are some things about these moves is that, this one especially recovers very slowly. So if you do whiff this, you're putting yourself in the danger zone. And it also is 7 frames. This recovers a little bit faster. It's 24 frames of recovery, but it's also a 7-frame startup. And that 7-frame startup might as well be 7.5 to 8 frames, maybe 7 frames to 9 frames, depending on how much input lag you have to deal with when you're playing online, right? Because you do have to also deal with the fact that you have to push a direction. While this might not seem difficult, it adds more variables to the situation. You catch your opponent with, you have to push forward or back and then do the whiff, right? Punish, right? So that's something else. And like I said, it's also 24 frames recovery, which isn't terrible. It's better than this move. Objectively speaking, it recovers faster, right? But this move recovers 1 frame faster. It starts up 1 frame faster. It stays active 1 frame longer, despite the fact that it recovers 1 frame faster than this. It is still 1 frame more active than this. And it doesn't require... Now, you do have to crouch to do this, but I'm going to get into that a little bit more. I don't have time to play. This might actually, in conjunction with Chun-Li's movement speed, because, technically speaking, this move doesn't have as much range, but because of her movement speed, you can increase the range of the attack, almost like throwing a spear, right? You can kind of move into range quickly to increase the range of the attack. Now, this is going to become more important in just a moment, so bear with me here. So, all of these things combine because if you wanted to try testing this out, I have a bunch of settings on a dummy here. You can pick whatever character you want, but I have a bunch of recording settings here with Ken. This, of course, is the empty shimmy where he doesn't do anything afterwards. And then we have a bunch of different options here, ranging from jumping attacks to drive rush attacks to whiffing normals and things of that nature, right? So we have a bunch of options here for Ken. And something that is prevalent when you're playing neutral in this game is the whole idea of the mental stack. For those that are not aware, of course, the mental stack is basically, in the most simplest form that I can put it, is all of the different options that you are aware of at any given time. And it can be very difficult to keep up with somebody drive rushing at you, somebody whiffing a button, somebody jumping. I'll go ahead and have Ken do a bunch of different things here. Imagine trying to keep up with all of these options here. He can do Dragon Dash. He can do nothing. All right. You don't really know exactly what he's going to do unless he has shown his hand is very obvious, right? If it's a new opponent, you don't know what they're going to do, right? They could do anything. He could jump. He could drive rush. He can throw out a button, right? And you have to be able to manage all of these things. You want to keep your distance so that they can't make contact with you with their normals. You want to watch for jump ins unless something bad happens to you. You want to watch for drive rushing. You want to watch for Dragon Dash, right? There are all of these things that you have to watch out for. And when you're worrying about all of this stuff, it's hard to say, okay, I'm looking for whiffs, so I'm going to try to whiff punish with something like this. And then if he tries to drive rush at me, I'm going to try to drive rush with something like this. And then, but what if he jumps? What if he decides to jump when I'm doing something like this, right? Let's see if we can get Ken to jump here. See, I didn't have enough time to actually respond. See, I got punished, as you can clearly see. So, because this move is taking a while to recover. Now, just a little bit, I am playing with input delay, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference, right? In this situation, right? Because I am specifically looking only for that thing, right? And ideally, what you do when you're neutral is, once you figure out what it is you want to focus on, the moment you see your opponent do something, you make a decision as if that is the thing that they are going to do and you're certain about it. If you make the wrong choice, it is what it is. Fighting games involve making choices, and sometimes you don't make the right ones, right? But the whole fun of being in the lab, usually, as lab monsters will probably tell you, is trying to figure out clever ways to help make these choices better and more effective, and to give you a higher % chance to get a more ideal outcome for what it is that you're doing, right? With the choices that you're making. So, with that being said, when you have all of these different options you have to worry about, as you have seen, if you do something like this, you're going to get punished by the jump in because your recovering takes too long in order to actually catch your opponent jumping. Now, something that made me think about this is that when I'm actually going to mess up one of my recordings here for just a moment. It's okay. I'm pretty sure I have everything saved already. So I'm going to go ahead and record. No, actually, I don't have to do that. I could just, my apologies. I could just have Ken do a wake up normal throw, or have Ken do nothing, or have Ken do a forward jump like this. Those are the three options. For now, I'm going to turn these off, but what happens is, like, what you do after you throw somebody in the corner, for example, it's like, what do? Right? When you're trying to shimmy somebody off of a knockdown like this, for example. Now, I am playing with input lag, so make sure I do have to be careful about doing combos in this, so I'm going to turn this off for a minute. I don't want to mess up my muscle memory too much. So when you have your opponent in a situation where you can kind of shimmy them, you can't really shimmy off of her normal throw because you're just too far away. If you're fighting somebody that's really scary, you can kind of get away with it, but you want to be like right in their face in order to get away with it, right? So it's usually going to be off of something like this. So if you're able to get the knockdown and you go to shimmy, a lot of people, what they might do in order to get the whiff punish is, unfortunately, Chun Li can't just throw out a heavy punch like Ryu and Ken, or Cammy, right? Or Terry or Mai or any of those characters, right? This is a little bit too slow, but something that you would see high level players and pro players do is after their opponent whiffs something, they will either use this move or they will use this. This one probably for maximum damage, or if they're certain that their opponent is going to actually whiff something, whiff a throw or a button. This is the most common one that you see players like Moki and Goichi use. And why is that? Well, I'm going to show in just a moment here. First, I'm going to try demonstrating with this move right here. So I'm going to try to do this on reaction. I'm going to knock Ken down after I turn these settings back on. And we're going to go ahead and get a knockdown here. We're going to try to shimmy him. Let's go ahead and do that for now. See that? He's out of the corner. Not only is he out of the corner, but we're vulnerable. You see that? Now, I'm going to see if I can see. By the time you react to what he's doing, you know, it's too late because you're looking for him to twitch or to do something the moment he does something. Now, what makes this move somewhat better is even though the range is abysmal and it's not as much damage, something that's cool about this specific move is that you can get a meterless punish counter on it. So if you're in burnout or something like that, you don't have to have meter to get something from it. But also, if your opponent decides to jump for whatever reason, you can actually catch them. Right? So you can actually do something like this if you're going for the shimmy. See that? I can still catch him. And then you can run your Oki from there with us running a fireball or going into a drive rush or something like that, right? So you go for the shimmy. And I actually messed up the timing right there, but it's okay. So you could do something like this. Or you can make it so that, and my metering is weird. Let me turn this back to standard here. Okay. So we're going to get that knockdown again. You don't have to even use meter, right? And then, as you can see, if he does decide to jump, okay, if we can just get him to jump here. I'm sorry, let me give it a moment. I know I demonstrated it before, but I just want to show it again. See that? You can still catch him while he's midair, right? That's one of the cool things about this move is that it recovers quickly enough that you can still catch people jumping. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is because a lot of problem solving when it comes to competitive games, especially fighting games like this, is finding ways to solve problems. As much as I complain about Chun Li being kind of dog water, as much as I complain about that, the truth of the matter is we still have to find something to do to deal with the problems that we're dealing with, right? So when we really put our minds to it and we try to come up with solutions for this, something I was thinking about here is instead of trying to do all of these different options depending on what our opponent does in neutral, what if we can have something that does all of those things? This move comes out faster, which is very good for trying to catch moves like this. A move like this is a lot harder to catch the longer it takes for your move to come out, right? So if somebody with something like that, it's going to be a lot harder to catch them. This move comes out faster, so that's giving you more leeway. This move, if you happen to make a boo-boo and you miscalculate, her arm almost forms like kind of a shield because of how meaty this is. It's out for 4 frames. So this makes it so that if you miscalculate and your opponent does something different, there is a chance that they still can't really get to you to punish you because this move is disjointed. The way her knuckle sticks out there, the hurt box is a little bit harder to interact with if you try to hit her arm, right? It's a little bit harder. It's not too much harder, but it's going to be harder than something like this. And she pushes her her body's hurt box so much farther back, right? So this is a pretty good keep out move, even though the range is not that good because it stays out longer and her hurt box gets thrown way back, especially the upper body hurt box, as you can see. Not so much the lower body, but the upper body, she moves back quite a bit. So this gives her a slight bit of evasiveness for moves that hit really high, right? Such as a heavy punch or something of that nature. Like I said, it's not that crazy noticeable. They're not gonna like if they throw out a heavy punch, they're not gonna like completely whiff. But it's more likely to trade, or they might just so happen to get clipped first because of that. Right? So, like I say it's active for longer. So if your opponent does, if they do a drive rush or something, they might run into you, right? So it's out longer. But if your opponent, when you're in neutral and you're trying to worry about if your opponent's gonna jump or not, one of the things with Chun Li is that you kind of have to cross buff her, especially if you're fighting somebody like Cammy or Sagat, who can Tiger Knee or do Cannon Strike at lightning speed. And because of the input, as I've complained about plenty of times in other sessions, it's very hard to just, if you're just doing this, to just, oh, I'm just going to double tap down, right? So, you know, you're trying to limit the amount of movement that you're using. You're doing this, whatever, in neutral, trying to move just a little bit, try to catch your opponent whiffing something, right? You can do this while kind of doing a cross buffer as well, like this. See, it's kind of the same thing almost. But this also makes it so that it's easier to get out tensho kicks if you actually do it correctly, right? And while you're doing this, this is the move that you're most likely going to get if you decide to push your medium attack button, right? Instead of doing this, and then if your opponent jumps, you have to do this, and then if your opponent whiffs something, then you have to crouch and do this, or this, right? If you're doing this, everything's kind of happening at once. You're kind of making it easier to answer multiple options at once, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go ahead and turn the delay back up for just a moment here. And we're going to have Ken do his bull crap for us here. Let me turn all of these options back on. And then I'm going to try to answer it the quote unquote optimal, the way that you're supposed to answer everything, right? So if he tries to drive rush me, if he whiffs a button, I'm going to do this. If he tries to drive rush, I'm going to do this. If he jumps, I'm going to do this. All of that. So that's what we're going to try to do here. Let's go ahead and see how well we do. We whiffed that one. Okay, it looks like I messed up the recording, so we're going to go ahead and reload. Yeah, we managed to stop that one. We traded there, but we stopped him. That's all that matters, as long as he can't get a trade combo. Stop that. See, I got punish countered for that. That's a little bit easier to catch him out of because of the delay. You could also anti-air him with that. And see, we were able to check that one. It's tricky because you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. If you're trying to catch a whiff too, some of these whiffs are really fast to catch. So I might not do the right thing, but we were able to catch that one. All right. Caught that one. Caught that one. No, that was an epic fail on my part. Brain fart. I got caught. And I messed. That's something else you can do is because you have to do forward or back. You might get this instead. That's something else that's really annoying, right? So you're trying to notice how I didn't answer the drive rush the correct way. I keep using this. This is slower, so it's going to be a lot easier to get caught by drive rush, especially if you're fighting Bison, Jury, or Cammy. Or DJ. I'm sorry, not Cammy. Because they're very fast, so you need the fastest attack you can get within reason that is relatively meaty to catch them. So he's not jumping for some reason. Doesn't feel like jumping, I guess. But I think you get the point. So I need him to jump at least once. There we go. Okay. See, that move takes too long to recover. Now, I'm going to try doing the same thing here, except I'm going to use this move to try to answer as many things as I can. Now, the caveat is that you're going to have to get closer because this doesn't go anywhere near as far as this move does. So especially if you want to catch whiffs, you're going to have to really, like, know the range and know what you can work with. But we're going to give that a try here. See, we were still able to catch him out of the air, even though I made a miscalculation. And that's something that high-level players and pros do. They find ways to solve problems instead of trying to do everything the most ideal way. Now, I got caught that time because my move didn't come out fast, but also consider that I am playing with 5 frames of input delay, so if I remove the input delay, the move would come out faster as well. Caught him that time. Blundered there. Okay, we managed to catch that. Managed to catch that whiff there. Nice. Unfortunately, I got tagged by that, but sometimes that happens. It's a video game. Things don't always work the way they're supposed to. And I got caught there. But at least we had a success rate at stopping jump ends, even after I made the right. See, what I'm doing here basically is I'm not trying to think about what he's doing specifically. I just know if he looks like he's about to do something, I'm just pushing this move. And you can do this to buffer an anti-air just in case they jump as well. Alright. If it looks like they're about to do something, I'm pressing. That's pretty much what's happened here. And I managed to get caught there, unfortunately. Well, let's see what happens if we turn the delay off a little bit. If he jumps. Notice that the responsiveness is a lot faster. This is why I train doing this. It forces you to be more sharp when it comes to situations like this. And playing neutral is extremely important in just general fundamentals, but especially with Chun Li, she requires it. Without fundamentals, Chun Li is just kind of toothless. All right. Block the whiff. Unfortunately, I still managed to get caught by that jump then. The goal here is to not just smash after he shimmies back and forth. It's to actually try to respond to something that is being done. That was a counter hit. I failed the tensho kicks there, as you can see. He would have got anti-aired otherwise. And of course, you can, as long as you're not messing up your muscle memory with input delay, you can also practice your follow-ups as well. Up, I got caught there. Take him to the corner, pretty much. I don't know why I always drop that when I'm demonstrating. I never drop it any other time. It's funny, but it's okay. And I managed to get caught there. Right. Get them to the corner. And I messed that one up, but it's okay. I think we get the point here. Nope. See that? I'm buffering the tenshos while I'm doing this, while at the same time moving in and out of his range while doing this, as well as doing this maneuver allows you to block low as well, so that you don't get caught by a crouch medium kick as well. It just accomplishes so much more when you sequence like this, because you can check the drive rushes. You have a higher chance of being able to catch a jump in just in case your opponent decides that they jump when you try to do the crouch medium punch. You pretty much can't do it if you whiff this move. It's just the jumping's gonna hit you too quickly, right? But if you, the moment they do something, and if it's a jump, see, I have time to move. And then we caught a whiff there, because we're playing perfectly within his, well, maybe not perfectly, but ideally within his range. Right. Fortunately, I didn't get that one. Right. So I think we get the point here. So with that being said, this move right here makes it a lot easier to check multiple things at once. You can check the Dragon Ass, you can check the Drive Rush, you can check, you can catch people whiffing buttons because it's fast. This move comes out much faster, right? It doesn't go as far as this move. This move goes much further, but her movement speed should be able to make up for that, right? You can just kind of move into a range if they whiff, especially if you get really good at and train yourself to be able to catch these whiffs from these characters. It'll be like close to slow motion for you, where you will actually be able to move back into their range and then catch their hurt box, right? So that being said, and this move also is because like I said, not only are you better positioning yourself, because when you're doing this, you don't want to have to crouch and say, "Oh man, I have to crouch now," right? But you can just do this, and then if your opponent happens to jump, not only are you cross buffering the potential kicks, but you're also still moving in and out of range, almost like this, right? And you're also crouch blocking, so that your opponent, if they happen to let a low loose in you, and you're in their range, you can still block it, right? But if they do something, you're most likely going to get this move. Instead of having this situation come up where you go to do this, and then you accidentally get this move, or you have to deal with the extra frames of having to push forward plus the medium punch attack button, right? So this kind of checks multiple boxes, right? And one other thing I wanted to mention about this particular move here is that, let's say, for example, if you're playing in Burnout, and we're going to go ahead and fix that. You're playing in Burnout, obviously, if your opponent whiffs something, you don't have meter to drive rush them, right? Now, Chun Li makes this very hard to do, but ideally what we want to be able to do is, even if we're not in Burnout, let me go ahead and turn that off for a moment. Turn that back on, I'm sorry. Even if we're not in Burnout, if we can accomplish what we're trying to do without having to use as much meter, that's also a good thing, because Chun Li is very meter hungry, right? And I really don't know why I always drop this when I'm demonstrating. It's so strange, but okay. So what we want to do is, if we can accomplish what we're trying to do with far less meter, why not do that, right? Instead of, let's say if we have we have our settings saved here. So I can go ahead and, this is his heavy punch. So we're going to turn the rest of these off. And he's just going to whiff the heavy punch, right? Now, we could do something like this. Whoops. We could do something like this. And get them straight to the corner for 3 bars, right? Or you might be able to do something like this. Whoops. See, they're still in the corner, except we still have, at that point, you see my meters coming back. So we almost spent only 1 bar. Let's go ahead and take a look at that again. Now, like I said, you have to be able to play like the whole neutral game very well with this. See, we're getting all our meter back. See, by the time it's only 1 bar technically, right? Or you could do something like this if you're in Burnout. Right? No meter was spent. Or just do something like this. Very little meter spent, as you can see. This is hard. You have to be very good at playing, at like catching people whiffing and stuff like that. But that's something that this move allows you to do. Because, let's go ahead and get Ken to stop doing that for a moment. On punish counter, You can't. Remember, one of the things I was complaining about with this move was that it would be cool if you could catch a whiff and actually get a combo off of it, right? Now, this is not true to form because he's not whiffing anything. When you catch a whiff punish, there's a very high chance that you're catching their limb, right? So we're going to get Ken to actually do that again. Make sure that's on. See, if you catch their limb from way out here, there is a good chance that you won't actually be able to hit them. Now, you might be able to, but as you can see, it's a little fickle. You can't really depend on it. Right. But if you catch their limb all the way out here with this, you have a much higher, even though the pushback on that move is tremendous, this move goes very far. And you can get a natural combo off of a punish counter with this. Unfortunately, it looks like it's whiffing here. But there you go. You see that? It goes pretty far. Right? It does. You're going to probably get more damage. It goes far. And you can't use this. This move does not work on punish counter. Let's go ahead and get Ken to keep doing that. It's okay. He's being predictable, so not have to worry about too much trouble. See, that doesn't combo. This one does, but it's not guaranteed to hit. This one has a higher chance to hit despite dealing with the pushback of the crouch medium punch. Right. Like I said, he's being very predictable, so it's very easy to just move. But if you're fighting in a situation where they are not being predictable and you catch a whiff, it's based on my experimentations, it's going to be a lot easier to catch a whiff with this because the move is just faster. The less frames it takes for your move to come out, the more you can quote unquote react to them whiffing the move, right? So if we go ahead and get all of these settings back on, okay, we were able to catch him there. See, it whiffs. Whoops. And this move came out too slowly. I'm not playing. I still have input lag on, but it's not as much as I had. This is like moving. This is high speed, unfettered compared to what I'm usually training in. All right. Okay, we were able to get close enough for that one. Not that one. Not that one either. See? Let's try the crouch medium kick. I mean the crouch medium punch, sorry. Okay, we're being preemptive. We have to try to be reactionary with this. I managed to get nailed right there. Unfortunately, we're too far away to catch him there. I said, this is very hard. So, even with these discoveries, this is still difficult to manage. But I honestly think this crouch, that right there, that was a counter hit. So that means that if I did not mess up the intentional inputs, he could have got hit there. Right. When you see punish counter, that's how you know that you can't do anything. But if it's a counter hit, that just means that your move didn't come out. You see that? That still caught him. Whoops, that's a counter hit. It's not going to work on a counter hit. I said it's a little bit hard to catch whiffs with this, but it's also a little bit easier because it's just a faster move. You have more time, right? In combination with her movement speed. You see? I accidentally got the stance there. Buffering too hard. He jumped over that one. Too slow. See that? But hopefully we get the point there. I said it's not foolproof. It's not going to automatically solve the neutral 100%, but it may help to be able to take some of the relief off. The main reason for it is because the problem with trying to do this whole catch a whiff thing is that if they decide to jump, you can get blown up for this. That's the main reason. This mainly not only has to check multiple options, and it comes out faster to catch the whiffs, but it also helps to just to catch those jump ins, right? If we go ahead and these options, and let me see, which one is his jump in again? Apologies. Yeah, I don't think it's this one. No, it's got to be one of these. Yep. So we're going to keep that one, this one, and this one. He's only going to do one of three things. Nothing, jump, catch the jump. See? Still caught it. And I was too close. That's it. Goal is to try to not to do it preemptively, but to try to catch them the moment they twitch, the moment you see that they do something. Right. Whoops. Didn't get Tensho out in time. Right. Or if you want to do something meterless. See, that still reached him. You see what I'm saying? Whoops, I got the stance by accident. Ken the crafty guy. I got caught there, unfortunately. I said sometimes you might throw out a limb, but the goal is to do it reactionary. See? You can do that with meter, without meter, whatever. See? Now, he missed us technically, but I'm pretty sure that he would have still got hit. Because if you do it the moment they twitch, especially if you don't play with input lag like I do, you're really going to be able to, because your move's going to come out so much faster the moment you see them switch. The moment you see them do something, you're going to get crouch medium punch, and then you're going to recover in time to be able to catch the jump. Right. Come on, jump for me. Right now, I am being preemptive because I just wanted to show it, see? That's the main thing that made me think about this. Not only just because it bridges dealing with so many other problems that you have to deal with in neutral, but because you can just catch jump-ins a lot more easily, right? On top of, if you know your range well enough, you're going to be able to catch whiffs a little bit more easily as well, right? So that's pretty much it. This might have actually been a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I just wanted to go over the kind of the benefits of Chun Li's 2 medium punch or crouch medium punch, whichever you want to refer to it as. I said, just to summarize here, this move is flexible because it can deal with multiple things in neutral. It gives you enough of a window to be able to deal with jump ins. It comes out faster so that you can catch people's limbs if they whiff. It's active for longer, so that way her arm stays out there. It's kind of a counter poke, like a wall almost. It's a little bit more evasive because you're crouching and she's moving back like this. There you get counter poke, even though the range is not as great. If you get a counter hit with something like this, you can't do anything with it, right? If you get a punish counter, this is the only thing you can do, but the range is scuffed. Especially if you catch a whiff. Now, if you do it while they're standing still, which is impossible, you can't punish counter somebody if they're standing completely still, right? But if you manage to catch a limb, like if we go ahead and have Ken do this again, and you catch it at limb range, you're going to whiff, right? Now, unfortunately, you can't use this move. That is not a natural combo. It doesn't work that way. However, if you catch your opponent whiffing with the crouch medium punch, you can do this as long as you are within a decent enough range. That didn't combo. Don't pay any mind to that one. That one does. Right. It's still tricky, but as you can see, this move does go much further. So it's going to be a lot harder to mess that up if you catch their limb, as you can see there, especially a heavy punch, right? And if you happen to get a counter hit on them, like so, you can do this as well. So if you catch your opponent trying to drive rush, you can do something like this to check them, and then you can send them straight to the corner with only about 2 bars or so, right? So yeah, this move is pretty cool. I'm going to experiment with using this a little bit more. Try it out if you're willing. Let me know how it goes for you. That's pretty much going to be it for this dojo session. Thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you're willing. That's going to be Sage Armageddon signing out. And I hope you all have an awesome day. Take care.